Welcome to the Dream Stream of Consciousness podcast. I am Yiskah Cook.
And I am Ellen Ronis.
So good to see you, Alan. We haven't done this in a little while.
It has been a bit.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
quite a lot has happened since we
I
last
know.
talked in
I
the
need
world.
to get my head right from
Yeah,
all that has happened
yeah.
before I could be of any use to anyone else.
Completely understandable. I believe that is what has been happening with me as well, just unable to sort of put anything out into the world.
Yeah. So, if we can just jump in, I
Sure.
have a dream that I've been working on internally, and I've come to some great insights, and it might be more worth my while to share it with you for more um aha possibilities of getting some great insights from you.
Awesome. Yeah, would love to.
But But I also wanted to talk about my meditation that I do in the evenings. So, because I'm doing this in the liminal place between being awake and falling off to sleep, it feels dreamlike to me. It's in that sort of
Yeah.
dreamy space.
Yes.
Um, and and uh, I would love to share a little bit more of that if you'd like to
Yes,
listen.
of course I would.
Well, thank you. So,
I'm open.
and now, do you remember when did this start? 2020, I think. I think it started in 2020
When we were started doing this.
when I started doing this imaginative exploration.
Yeah, I don't know when it started. It's been several
I
years for
think it was
sure.
then, and I think it had to do with the pandemic. And then my
Yeah.
feeling was if I believe in prayer, which I feel that I do, I felt that I do, then I needed to start praying for people. This was during the pandemic.
Mhm.
So I wanted to build in my imagination what I could only construe as a prayer cathedral. And so it started there. And I feel like what I'm excited to share now is all these years later, it's it's still being built. I'm still working on it. I still have new insights about it. And I still get to put the people next to whomever, try different arrangements. So what I think of it as is like a, not a cavern, receptacle for God's light,
Hmm.
for universal light. And a friend had asked me, I said, "Oh, I'd like to put you in my prayer cathedral." And she said, "What are you going to do? Heal me?" She kind of said it disbelievingly. And I said, "No, I'm just going to like refract the light, reflect the light. Like, I'm just going to hold you in the light in my imagination." So what it had been for a very long time, it had been sort of a grove of aspens, white aspens, and in growing in the earth. And then I had, as time went on and I was building it anew, I had silks around the trunks of the trees to kind of hold it together as, one container. And more recently, it became more of a tabernacle that was no longer rooted in the earth, but I was able, almost like what the Jews traveled with in the desert, where they would set up the tent of meeting, and wherever it was that they set it up, that's where the Shekinah, the God presence, the Holy Spirit comes in. So it became more of that. And like, I know this is strange when you think of your imagination, but for some reason it was more to the left on the hill. If the pinnacle is straight up,
Hmm.
it was more at like 10 or 11 o'clock, where I had the prayer cathedral, where it had been growing. But now that it's more of a tabernacle, I have I have gone to the top of the hill, and we, whomever we is, have set it up, and I feel like it's a better antenna there. So, and that's all that is just to say that we have these incredible imagination, active imagination. Is that what Jung called it? Or the imaginal realm? Is that Robert Moss, another of our dream teachers? So, it's just been feeling really good to me. And I just wanted to share that I feel like it's almost the last frontier. Some people say the sea is, or space, obviously, space or the sea, but if as above, so within, the your star, as above, so within, then what is the last frontier within? And I believe it's the imagination.
I love that so much, and I'm really picturing it, and it's stimulating my creativity, my
Yes.
imaginal realm in a way. It's like, do I want to paint that first of all? Like how
Oh,
cool, like,
yes.
you know, the whole thing with the aspens and the silk containing it feels
Yes.
like a piece of art to me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
so
like
beautiful.
plant died, like the whole thing
Yeah,
would
totally.
go into it. Oh, and then another of my insights with this is I was in a group of women. We were celebrating a Hindu goddess. And so we had an Indian woman with us, and she was teaching us some chants. And she was saying, well, when we say this, it's called a pearl, and it alludes to this other chant. And this alludes to, so if you're steeped in your mythology or your religion, you know where the different pearls will take you. And so that's sort of a subtext
Hmm.
to this. So everything is so much depth.
Hmm.
And so what I did, because it used to take me I didn't have time to manifest my own healing. Well, in the prayer cathedral, but then I also have a whole manifestation that I do for my own health. Um, and it used to take me like the whole time that I could possibly stay awake, like filling this prayer cathedral. And then I said, oh no, but this person can be a pearl for her whole family, like backwards and forwards, like ancestors and descendants, like, oh, this person can be a pearl for his whole family, and then so now I have to hold that so I can hold everybody
Hmm.
more succinctly, or I don't know what the word would be, but and then I can and then I have time to do the other imaginal work I want to do. So that's been extraordinary for me.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. When I think of a pearl, I think of how a pearl starts.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't it just start with a little grain of something and then things I don't really, something gets wrapped around it
Yeah.
and so it's kind of like that seed. Each pearl feels like a seed of something to grow, or a string of pearls
Oh
where
yeah.
you
Oh,
just
I love
make this
that.
whole pearl necklace
Yeah.
that contains all of us. Like if each pearl
Oh, I'm gonna
represents their ancestors, pre and future, whatever.
bring that visualization. I love that.
That's
No,
really
it's
cool.
true, right? So, and it is sort of like a string of pearls because it doesn't stop two
Yeah,
generations from now, and it doesn't stop two generations into the future. It's a pearl can
yeah.
hold the whole picture.
And I think I mean, there's so much I love about this, and I really so appreciate your share of the really particulars because you have mentioned the prayer
Yeah.
cathedral, a number of times
As
here.
it's been evolving in my
Yeah, and just what it is for you, but you never really, were so clear about it as a piece of imaginal realm, which
yeah,
Robert Moss, the dream teacher who we both, we studied with
yes.
together. That's how we know each other. He used to say, make it up as you go along if you can't remember your dream.
Remember
Just
he
make
had a whole,
something up because it doesn't really matter. It's all coming from
that
the
was
same
a dance and a song.
place.
Make it up
Make
as
it up as
you
you
go
go
along.
along. Yes. Right. He made a whole, and he created the whole, right. He was very
Yeah.
creative
No, I
himself.
know, I know.
And
I learned so much of how to open my mind from
yeah,
with him.
yeah. I mean, and I really believe, I think what's inspiring to me at the moment about this is, well, so many things, that just yeah, to pray for people to really like get out of, one's own, heavy mind or heavy
Yeah,
heart and actually give that light energy away. It's just like, whoa, that's so beautiful.
yeah, that's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And also like the other thing that's striking me about it is that I'll just say personally lately, my dreams have been a little scant, is the way I would describe it. And what I do remember just feels a little like heavy and dark and weird. And I mean, all dreams have, some elements of that
Sure.
sometimes, but a little bit like I can't quite grab it and it's not quite, it's not quite connecting into my soul. But what you're doing is the active
Active
thing. It
imagination.
still comes from the same place. It
It
still
does.
comes from deep in the soul, from somewhere in an unconscious place. A creativity is that same thing.
Yes.
So I like that idea as an inspiration to create something in my mind instead of like if I'm frustrated with the dreams that I'm having or not having, to actually have some kind of an active imagination,
Yes.
prayerful,
Right.
whatever,
Because we use all sorts of um things that can be symbolic as a
Yes,
waking dream or as
yes,
an imaginal dream. I mean, I don't think we ever put it that way, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
also want to say like dreaming is on the cusp right now in the world. And I don't know if you feel it, but I feel it. And certain people are making podcasts on lucid dreaming, and dreaming is really coming more to the forefront again. And I've had dreams, but dreaming is taking on more significance in
Yeah.
our lives. And I actually, for some reason, I've been really drawn to Edgar Casey these days.
Uh-huh.
And how I don't think he specifically said December of 2024, but he might have, or
Uh-huh.
it was interpreted this way. But supposedly in December of 2024, the whole world is going to have an awakening.
Oh. Well, I mean, if in astrological terms,
Yeah,
literally about to enter on the 19th, which is in a few days,
yeah,
Pluto is entering Aquarius, and Pluto is, the planet of. It's got the energy of like death and rebirth, like Kali. It's
yes,
not nice. It's not pretty.
yeah,
It's death. Like Kali is stepping on the skulls of her past lovers or something in
yeah,
the mythology of Kali.
yeah.
It's kind of got a cruelty to it in a way, but it's so much about killing off the things that literally don't work. And that's a huge piece of what's happening now, and even in our political system,
Oh my gosh.
everything is like needing to die so that we can find a new way, and we will find a new way hopefully in our lifetime. But
So when it was in the 60s, it was the dawning of the age of
we
Aquarius.
weren't there yet, which is so
It's the
interesting.
dawning, right? Dawn.
Dawning. It
And the
was so
middle of a
great.
long day. And
We're
this long day was
literally,
decades.
yes, we're literally 3 days away from it. Pluto is entering.
I absolutely feel it. I do. I mean,
It's
it's
like
excitement.
yes, and just to say about Aquarius, to throw in a little astrology here,
Yeah.
as it fits with everything else, is about doing things. First of all, Aquarians are very what's the word?
Watery.
Uh,
Water bearer.
they're about like community. They're really about
Okay.
community,
Okay.
friends, community, Um,
Wonderful.
there's a word that I can't think of right now. Anyway, it'll come to me. But and it's very much about thinking outside of the box. It's very much about doing things your own way. It's very much about taking action, just doing it your own way. And that is, I think, a lot of what people are wanting right now. It's
I
like
think
letting go
so.
of the whole thing and just doing it your own way, not following the rules.
Right.
It's been in Capricorn, which is very much about rules and
Ah,
structure,
yeah, yeah. Structure.
doing it the right way, you know. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, it's very like particular specific, and there's a hard edge to it. It's like, the big grandpa is going, "Are you
Sure.
do that the right way, son?" Or
My
so,
my
you know.
my son is a Capricorn.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right. And there's a little bit of a stubborn edge to it. There's a little bit of a definitely like if it isn't done with this kind of structure or these rules, So we're leaving that, and that's what's
So
going on
exacting.
too.
Okay.
Yeah, just
And
that.
then and then so we're really in Aquarius now.
We're essentially in Aquarius. It's yes, it's been in Aquarius and it went out. Now it's back in, and it's in for good for the next 240 years or so
And
ish.
it can only get better because next comes
This is it.
Pisces.
This is an amazing. Yeah, this is an amazing time. We may not see the most amazing amazingness in our lifetime, but we'll see. We'll see something after
Yes.
4 years.
Yeah, yes. Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, didn't mean to get so into the astrology, but it related.
I love it. I love it. And I'm not a, you
Yeah,
know,
it's related to.
knowledgeable person when it comes to this, so I love to hear it from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all connected. It really is all connected. All the
Okay.
energy, however you want to look at energy, whether it's planetary or spiritual or energetic or even physical, it's all kind of
Yeah,
it's all connected.
one other thing I have going in my imaginal realm is I also have a council of deceased loved ones.
Mm.
I used to call it the council of elders. I was like, no, they're not all elders,
Mhm.
in body, some people didn't live to be an elder. But
Right. Right.
so and I have that, and then when I hear of a death in my mind, I can like my worry is, of course, I'm always a little bit worried of people who feel so alone, you know.
Mhm.
And so I want my loved ones to be as a welcoming committee to whomever dies.
Love that. I
You know
love
what I
that. And
mean?
yeah.
I because you hear someone who meant something to you now, whatever, in another ether in the etheric or on the computer in the movies or whatever it is. It's just nice to have an organized mind. You know what I mean? Oh, when it comes to prayer and life and death, nothing else. No, just kidding. But
Well, I mean,
yeah,
if I'm understanding what you're saying, and let me know if I'm not.
yeah.
It sounds like so when you start to go into that imaginal realm, there's already this there, right? There's already this committee. You don't have to sort of.
No, exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
right. And
Because
and
I've
I'll
been working on it.
right, and I'll just say that in a way that I'm relating to that is I recently took this course from a lovely man called Lee Harris. I love him so much. He's just kind of adorable. But he's a channel, and I'm not normally that isn't necessarily my way of connecting in with things, but I just like him so much that I took this course on channeling.
Right.
And basically it's just meditating really, but it's also like what it's like out of your own mind. It's like trying to find another energy that is talking through you. Like automatic writing in a way could
Yeah.
be channeling. So
Yeah.
why am I talking about this? Because because when in practicing this myself, it was like what we just talked about. Like it was this confusion of wait, who is that? And is that a being? Is that my father? Is that my who is that? And then after a while, I had a committee also. And the committee was, my father, my grandmother, and my recent ex my late ex-husband. Um,
Oh, he's double timing because he's also on my committee.
in every once in a while, which is really weird for me because I
I
still
know.
have,
He was always welcome on my council.
yeah, yeah.
Wise soul.
I
So,
mean, I think
yeah,
that's he's in perfect order in the spirit realm.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
And anyway, so we just I can relate to that sort of this way when you close your eyes and you start to go in, it's
Yes,
like there it is, and then you can just sort of relax into what's the message, what needs to come through.
yes. So, and I met a really special woman recently who has her own health issues that she's battling, and we were talking about prayer. And I was telling her about the prayer cathedral, and she said, "Oh, that's so great because it's a central place that you can just like when it occurs to you, or maybe this is me then kind of going off on that. When it occurs to me that I want someone to be in the prayer cathedral, you can store them, not that you're going to store them there, but
Uh-huh.
they can be there and wait for me in the night. You know what I mean? So anywhere along the way where I feel like, oh, right, I really want to pray for him or whomever, I can I can leave that thought in the prayer cathedral
Hmm.
and then it will come back.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. That's
She shared that with me. I knew there were a million reasons I loved this imaginal realm, but I hadn't thought of that. It's like, oh, okay, this is a central place, and I realized that that is what I do.
hmm hmm
So it was nice to hear it spoken.
Yeah, and I love this conversation as an alternative to dreams, the
Hmm.
actual dreams, which are, also obviously fabulous. And but they're
Yes,
more personal. And so in a
yeah.
way, this is personal, but it feels a little bit more universal somehow.
And it also feels like well, this is exactly what you just said, the personal becoming.
Something we can all create
Whatever
for
it becomes.
ourselves and our own particular way of praying,
Yeah, exactly.
praying
Because
for
I
whatever
didn't,
or
I'm Jewish, but I didn't grow up going to synagogue, although I've certainly uh,
Mhm.
partaken in Jewish prayers, since in my adult life, very much, but didn't grow up with it.
Mhm.
And so still a little bit of a wild card to me. Like, how do you pray? I mean, I know you can pray from the Siddur, and the shuckling, and the Jews get really like heart, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I guess I get caught up, anytime God is called he, but I get it. There's big G and there's little g, and Jesus is not uh a part of my mythology. Um, and but I get hung up on he.
Mhm.
God to me is not gendered.
No, and even in I think even in the origin story, the
Yeah,
Bible origin story, God does not have a gender,
right.
right? I think that's true. That I think that it's said that way. That I seem to remember someone saying that was, and so I'm not sure about that, but
Yeah.
I believe that it was just,
I have the Zohar. We'll explore it. We have to do research. There's so much I still don't know. I mean,
yeah,
so
but
much.
it's so interesting that we like decided something and that something is, that he is
Yeah,
better. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, and there's a prayer that an ex partner of mine used to say when we would be making love, and it was the prayer for the unification of the Holy One with the Holy Shekinah, the presence of God, like the masculine and feminine coming
Mm,
together. And then
mm,
whatever he said, I don't, I, I could find the prayer if I was looking in a sitter, but
yeah,
I that that always
that's
sent me,
beautiful. Gosh, that's
darling, you send me.
hot.
Woo! Woohoo!
Probably hot. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, in concept, but also that somebody was praying that while you were making love. That's awesome.
I know. I know. And just at climax, I was younger then. I'm older than that now. Sure, it's like a musical time for me. But yeah, well, thank you so much for listening to that. That's that's I'd love any insights. I mean, you've given me so much, but not but and the improv way. And I very much appreciate it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're most welcome for me listening, and also it was thank you for sharing that. I that was inspirational to me. Even though I've known about what you do, but somehow just the details, and maybe it's also where I'm at. Maybe
Yeah.
people might feel the same, that maybe now is really a time to try to implement something like that.
Yes.
Kind of, whatever works for you. It doesn't have to be about God or this, you don't have to use any spirit word. You can just
Yes.
in your own heart, like, well, how do you want to like breathe into your heart? Maybe it's just about that.
Yeah. Maybe it's not visual.
And
For
maybe
you,
it's not
it might
visual.
be because you're an artist of,
Right,
visual, but
right.
maybe it's not visual. Um,
Maybe it's something that you write, you
yes.
write down. And, if anybody wants to share, feel free, in a
Yes.
post or in a response to the
Write,
broadcast.
write to us on YouTube or SoundCloud
Yeah. Yeah, we'd love to
or
hear from
Facebook.
you. Yeah. Really know what you're thinking.
So, I want to say our dear deceased friend Brendan, who knows who knew so much, was a well of, wisdom and information. He told me that it it was a practice. I don't remember if he said Swedenborg, it might have been, or I might be totally misquoting who said this, but that the building of something in the imagination was used as sort of a meditation back in another time. And I want to learn more about that, but that feels really good to me because, I mean, there's something we say, if you say something really wise, and then say you're studying Torah and you say something wise, and someone, a Rebbe had said that before you, there's actually a prayer to say, like, oh, and I got this and they got this too. So I almost feel like that. Like I don't know the prayer, but it's like this is something that people have been working on. It's not, not new frontier. This is maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll try to do some research on that.
Yeah, but in a way, like, does it matter, right? It's like things are in the ether. Things are
Very
in,
much.
or they're like, even things like ideas. I've read about authors who had an idea for a book. I can't think of specifically who it is, but it was a specific author who had a whole idea for a story, and she didn't do it. And then somebody else did, literally had the same story. It was the same story. I mean, obviously different, maybe characters and the details, but, and she's like, there you have it. That idea was like here, it was like here, and I didn't like grab it, and it just kept going, and someone else grabbed it. And that's
Wow.
really because everything is energy. A
Yeah.
thought is an energetic vibration,
I'm
it's
always
kind
so
of,
interested in who were contemporaries with one another. Maria Montessori and Rudolf Steiner
uh-huh,
were,
right,
were,
right.
alive at the same time.
Right.
They're
And even when
contemporaries.
I was a young artist back in college, and
Yeah.
there was a certain kind of art that was happening, and oh, sure enough, it came out in my art.
Yeah.
Wasn't even I didn't don't even know if I really liked it, but it was just what was happening. And it's where you get your inspiration. Inspiration comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's not that different, right? The ideas are all there, and certainly the idea of God, spirit, a higher power, something has been around
The
since time
muse,
immemorial.
I feel the muse might be sledding around. I say that in jest, of course, the muse. is not slutting around, but the muse is polyamorous.
Yes. Right.
That was what I was trying to say.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yes. And I can relate to that on, real, solid things like like someone starting to do something that, was a thing that you were going to do, but then you didn't. And
That's happened to me. And
yeah.
in a way, it then freed me to do something else that I was going to do.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Right. That's
somebody's already doing this. Okay, good. Then I don't have to. Like I was going to fill a void, you know,
uh-huh.
and then I was like, oh no, people are doing this. I can do something else.
Uh-huh. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of a relief. Phew. Someone
Uh,
else.
yeah. That's really interesting. Something you really feel passionate about doing, and then someone else is doing it, and then it's like, do I do it anyway, or do
Right.
you know,
Yeah, right. That's a good question.
and do I just do it and do it my own way? Um,
There was
like,
one more piece of the Prayer Cathedral I wanted to share, which is one of the more enduring processes that I do is I can move people around.
uh-huh,
And so there's a man, and I'm not saying all glory to God. I'm not saying who was very ill and now is not. And so he's kind of my, so he has a role to play in the Prayer Cathedral because, he miraculously got better. And so now I have like, and then if I hear of a new someone who, a friend's father or something, and then I can picture he's like my star pupil. I mean, I'm joking when I say that, of course.
mhm.
But I'm like, okay, we'll bring him around. And then also, um, you know, I see that sometimes it's called for like, okay, all my powerful women, like step forward. And then it'll be like A, B, C, D, whomever I think of as a powerful woman. So we step forward and direct God's light. You know what I mean? Like it's fun. It's like
Yeah, it
I'm the
sounds very,
choreographer.
it's very creative, and I love that. Like that's how you're being creative in a
Right, and
way.
that's how it changes every day.
Yeah, yeah.
And usually it's the same people and usually in the same order. But if I start to have a feeling like I don't think that's working so well there, then I can experiment.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Yeah, I think it's really cool and
Thanks
inspirational.
very so much for your support.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess no dreams today because I've got to go
Yeah, and
science.
as I said, already was working on
Yeah,
dream
yeah.
line
We'll always do it next time if you want to bring
I
it up.
hope I'll have another dream by then.
Yeah, as I hope I will too.
Yeah. So
You know,
great to do this with you again, Ellen. We've
yeah.
both taken a break, got our heads on straight, and
Yeah, and perhaps we're like next levels, creative or this. I
oh
think I needed to
yes.
have the break. I think maybe you did too. I don't know,
Yeah,
but I
I
felt like
absolutely did.
I needed to just
I
get
absolutely needed
straight,
to.
I guess is a way to say it. Yeah. Okay.
I was like, it's just a time I needed to reevaluate what was real, what was what who was fooling me, who is gaslighting me, like, and I just refuse to be gaslit at all, and so I have to just keep it all at
Mm,
arm's length,
yeah.
because I really feel like I got MS because of my complicated grieving when my mom died. My mom
Mm,
died in 1995. I was diagnosed in 1996. So it really is like puzzle pieces for me. And
yeah.
I'm never gonna let the outside world get into not that that was so much the outside world, that was obviously my grief. So
Hmm.
it's different. But I'm not gonna grieve for any silly. reasons other than.
Yes, I think that's wise, and also feel that I'm keeping it a little bit at a distance while also researching some concepts and things that I feel I have felt a little bit, less knowledgeable about, so that I can have my own opinion and thoughts on
I love that.
happening
Yeah,
and what
that's what I
happened
feel too.
history of things. And
I don't
other
even.
than that, I don't want to be really too involved in it, because I really believe that the only thing we can do other than vote, right? And
Yeah,
and maybe if there's a cause that we want to fight for, okay,
right.
great.
Good.
But for the most part, we don't have a lot of control over what happens in the government. We really don't.
Mm,
Um, and so, but we do have a lot of control over what we do,
yeah.
how we act, how we feel, how we think. Um,
Self, family, community, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
that
What is here and then extends just right around us? How can we take the best care of
yeah,
that?
maybe even local politics, but
But
I'm going to
if
stay
that
away
suits,
from.
that's great.
I'm
Yeah.
going to stay away only if I needed to.
Mhm.
I recently heard an interview with my congressman that I was into, but yeah, I think I'm just taking a break altogether. I love to watch comedy.
Yes,
I
yes.
love to watch stand up,
Mhm.
I love to laugh, and so that's what I'm doing these days.
Yes, exactly. Laughter is so good. Yes. Good comedy is good. Jimmy Kimmel has some really funny.
Yeah, I always,
Of course, it is totally political, and it is
I
about
know.
he who shall not be named. But it's if I can take it out of the context, it's actually hilarious. It's not really funny. But um, he says and does are
It's
like,
so funny I could
but what
cry.
he says, it's just yeah, his take on things is pretty funny. Anyway, we
Hey,
will.
Ellen, thank you again. And
Yeah.
listeners, thank you for joining us. And we say,
Sweet dreams to everybody. Sweet dreams. And share your dreams with us. Share your dreams, share your inspirations, share any thoughts. We'd love to hear from you.
yeah, we'd love to have this be more interactive. So please do share with us. This is a fun journey. All right.